I'd like to call to order this meeting of the Peabody City Council. Please join me in a moment of silent prayer, and tonight, please join me in remembering long-serving Ward 4 Councilor Robert Driscoll, and please keep his family in our thoughts and prayers. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Councilors, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilors, I am going to take a couple of items out of order this evening. We have a number of people here. I believe with respect to item 7A. So with that, Councilor Charest.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to, under suspension of the rules, make a motion to receive 7A.
And add to the agenda for consideration at the next meeting?
Excuse me, thank you. Add to the agenda of next meeting for a vote.
Which is May 12th.
May 12th.
Councilors, you heard the motion. Roll call.
Councilors Mitsoulas.
Yes.
Sinowitz.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
Manning Martin.
Yes.
Charist.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Gravel.
Yes.
Garabedian.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Motion carries 10-0, 1 absent.
And for the people that are here tonight relative to that issue, we have a time fence that is dictated by the charter provision that requires 7 days between tonight's receipt of that communication from the mayor and any action that the council takes on it. So there won't be any vote on that issue until next week's meeting, which is May 12th.
So, Mr. President, can you for our guests, can you just let them know that there is nothing further that will be discussed, if I may, Mr. President?
Yes.
Nothing
Councilor
further
Gould.
that will be discussed this evening in regards to the solar panels. So I don't want you to feel you have to stay. You're welcome to stay, but there is no further discussion this evening. It's now on next week's agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Gould. Item 4A, the clerk, please read the notice.
Notice is hereby given that the City Council of the City of Peabody will conduct a public hearing on Thursday evening, May 5th, 2016, at 7:30 p.m. in the Franco Wigan Auditorium, City Hall, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass., on the application from Used Book Superstore Series LLC, 150 Newbury Street, Peabody, Mass., for a junk dealer's license at said 150 Newbury Street, Peabody, Mass. Peabody City Council, Councilor Peter M. McGinn, City Council President.
Is the applicant here this evening? If you could please step forward and state your name and address for the record, please.
Bob Ticehurst, 150 Newbury Street, Peabody.
And Councilor Sinowitz, I believe the specific request is that the applicant appear for this transfer. Would you like to?
No.
Sorry, a mistake on my part. This is new. So,
Right. Thank you, Mr. President. The applicant wants to open a...
Councilor Sinowitz, because I was considering this a transfer instead of a new license, I should have asked, is anybody here this evening to oppose this application? Is there anybody here this evening that would like to speak in opposition to this application? Is there anybody here that would like to speak in support of this application? Anybody here that would like to speak in support of this application? Hearing none, Councilor Sinowitz.
Thank you, Mr. President. The applicant is applying for a junk dealer's license to open a used bookstore at 150 Newbury Street?
Yes.
And I guess at the last meeting, there was a miscommunication and no one showed up, so that's why
Yes.
it's been delayed to this. In your application, did the person who you dismissed as the manager, is there a new person? Because I just wanted, is Daphne Powers the person?
She's the manager of the store there.
She's the new one now?
Yes, she
Okay,
is.
I just didn't know if this was
Yes.
up to date. So it's pretty straightforward. There's no objections from any of the department heads. I just wanted, before I open it up to other councilors, if this is approved, any signage you put up, you need to go to the building inspector to get approval. Any A-frames you put up, you need a permit to put
Yes.
those out there. And the only other question, what are your hours of operation here? It doesn't say anything in here about,
10 a.m. until 8 p.m., Monday through Saturday, 10 to
Okay.
6 on Sundays.
all right, I'm all set, thank you.
Yes, 8 p.m. during the week.
Other councilors? Councilor Sinowitz.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, move to close the public hearing.
Councilors, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Sinowitz.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, I move approval on the application for the used bookstore used book Superstore Series LLC, 150 Newbury Street, Peabody, Mass. for a junk dealer's license at 150 Newbury Street, Peabody, Mass. So moved.
Councilors, you heard the motion. Roll call.
Councilors Mitsoulas.
Yes.
Sinowitz. Walsh.
Yes.
Manning Martin.
Yes.
Charis.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Gravel.
Yes.
Garabedian.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Motion carries 10-0, 1 app.
All right. Thank you.
Item 4B. Would the clerk please read the notice of public hearing?
Notice is hereby given that the City Council of the City of Peabody, acting as a special permit granting authority, will conduct a public hearing on Thursday evening, May 5th, 2016, at 7:30 p.m. in the Franco Wegan Auditorium, City Hall, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass. on the application from Eva's Pastries, Inc., 3 Newton Street, Belmont, Mass. for a special permit to operate a bakery for wholesale and retail at 139 Linfield Street, Peabody, Mass. as filed in accordance with sections 4.2.5, 6.1, and 15.7 of the Peabody zoning ordinance. Peabody City Council, Councilor Peter M. McGinn, City Council President.
Is the applicant here this evening? If you could please step forward, state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Danny Garcia, and I live at 27 Albion Street, Salem, Massachusetts.
Could you please just tell us what you'd like to do?
I'm trying to get a permit to do a wholesale and retail bakery at 139 Linfield Street in Peabody, Massachusetts.
Is there anybody here this evening that would like to speak in support of this application? Anybody here that would like to speak in support of this application? Is there anybody here this evening that would like to speak in opposition to this application? Anybody here that would like to speak in opposition to this application? Seeing none, Councilor Turco.
So Danny and Ever and I actually met about a month ago. He went over the whole business plan with me. I think it's going to be an excellent addition to the ward. I wholeheartedly support it. I did have, and Danny and I have already discussed this. He has a plan that he would like to do some cooking classes, whereas people can, a group of 20 might go there and learn to cook a certain meal. So the current hours of operation for retail are 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., and I suggested to him that he might want to extend that if those classes are at 6 or 7 p.m., just to prevent any issue. His concern would be his wholesale hours are currently 8 p.m. to 5 a.m., and we just didn't know if we could cross those hours. I'm told by the clerk that it's not an issue. So I think, Danny, you went over some hours that you would like to extend to, maybe 7 a.m. to 10 p.m.?
Yeah, I was thinking probably like 7 a.m. till 10 p.m. just because the classes might take a little overtime since it is going to be an invite only. So it's going to be closed retail hours, and that's when I do the classes, just to avoid the retail and classes at the same time.
Okay, so I have no issue with that. The second thing that we discussed was, as far as the wholesale operation, I mean, right now, you've told me you only sell to, on the wholesale side, to smaller supermarkets, but
Correct.
as somebody that tasted the baked foods at Will, they were excellent, and I have a strong feeling that you'll do very well there.
Thank you.
I just want to be conscious of the neighbors with retail deliveries early in the morning, so I would like to set, if anybody can help me with the wording, that's fine, but I had no commercial vehicles over 2.5 tons between the hours of 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. And the reason I had to put the weight limit is because Danny's Caravan is a commercial vehicle, so I can't exclude him from making his own deliveries in the Caravan right now. But he does have some potential larger supermarkets interested in his product, and I don't want to worry about 3 a.m. deliveries out of the plaza. Does
Other councilors? Council meeting mine.
Yes, I'm sorry, Council Turco, could you repeat you said no commercial, what hours?
Yeah, so it would be no commercial vehicles, I'm sorry, I said the wrong hours, between
Okay.
10 p.m. and 7 a.m., I'm sorry.
All right, there you go.
My apologies.
Not a problem. That's why we're here.
Okay, so no commercial vehicles over 2.5 tons, which would still allow you to do your deliveries to your local local establishments. Other than that, I think it's a great business. I think the neighborhood's a little excited about having you with us, and it was really nice to meet you and Eva.
Thank you.
Just so everybody knows, it's Eva, not Ava.
Eva. Eva's Pastries.
So good luck with everything.
Thank you.
Council Gould.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to take a moment to speak about Mr. Garcia's quality as a person. He's a very upstanding gentleman. I've known him for a number of years, but also his quality as a pastry chef is superb, and we're thrilled to have you coming to South Peabody. I know our city clerk was sampling some of your baklava over the weekend at Greek Easter, so he probably is grateful that you're coming to Peabody also, correct? So, best of luck. Thank you. I'm going to have a pastry chef that probably should be speaking about that.
Councilor Charis.
Just through the chair, are you going to be serving ice cream at this location?
I might have worked something out with Tom and selling Treadwell's ice cream. I might have work out a deal with that.
Councilor Garabedian.
Just a quick question. Did you work in the North End recently?
I did. I actually taught your class.
That's right. We had at Iris Subaru, our group had a class in making pastry and doing a full course Italian dinner in the restaurant as team building, something, that we all do. And he was our teacher. Thank you.
Thank you.
And what do we make? Do you remember what we made?
I believe you guys we made fresh mozzarella, stretched fresh mozzarella.
That's what we did. We made the fresh
pasta.
mozzarella. Our group.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to have you.
Thank you.
Councilor Turco.
Mr. President, move to close the public hearing.
Councilors heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Turco.
Motion to approve the application from Ava's Bakery, Inc., 3 Newton Street, Belmont, Mass. for a special permit to operate bakery, wholesale, and retail at 139 Linfield Street, Peabody, Mass. It's filed in accordance with sections 4.2.5, 6.1, and 15.7 of the Peabody zoning ordinance, with changes to the hours of operation for retail from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. and wholesale from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m., and condition of no vehicles over 2.5 tons between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m.
Councilor, on that motion, would you be amenable to adding the conditions stipulated by the Health Department and the Fire Department in their responses?
I will certainly do that, with condition that under the request from the Health Department, the food permit is required for the Peabody, for the city of Peabody retail businesses, and from the State Health Department for wholesale business. And as for the fire department's condition that Evers Bakery uses commercial cooking equipment installed under NFPA 96.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilors, you heard the motion. Roll call.
Councilors Mitsoulas.
Yes.
Sinowitz. Yes. Walsh.
Yes.
Manning Martin.
Yes.
Charis.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Gravel.
Yes.
Garabedian.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Motion carries 10-0, 1 absent.
Item 4C, would the clerk please read the notice of public hearing? Thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
all set.
And actually, I would like to thank the council for bringing you guys some samples, if that's okay. Okay, I'll be right back.
Item 4C, would the clerk please read the notice of public hearing?
Notice is hereby given that the City Council of the City of Peabody, acting as a special permit granting authority, will conduct a public hearing on Thursday evening, May 5th, 2016, at 7:30 p.m. in the Franklin Wigan Auditorium, City Hall, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass. On the application from Maria Torres, 79 Aborn Street, Peabody, Mass. For a special permit to operate a catering business at 10 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass. Is filed in accordance with sections 4.2.5, 6.1, and 15.7 of the Peabody zoning ordinance. Peabody City Council, Councilor Peter M. McGinn, City Council President.
Councilors, this application is in Ward 2, and the applicant is not here tonight. I spoke with her, and there is an issue with the application in that it was signed by not the property owner, but the person that is currently leasing the space. So she needs to address that issue with the application, and she requested some additional time to do that. However, we needed to open the public hearing because we're under a time constraint for the potential of constructive approval. So I'm going to make a motion that we recess this public hearing. So moved. Recessing to May 12th. On that motion, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Item 4D, would the clerk please read the notice of public hearing?
Notice is hereby given that the City Council of the City of Peabody, acting as a special permit granting authority, will conduct a public hearing on Thursday evening, May 5th, 2016, at 7:30 p.m. in the Franklin Wigan Auditorium, City Hall, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass. On the application from James Kaludis, 11 Railroad Ave, Peabody, Mass. For a special permit to construct a multifamily use of 3 upper floors.
I can save you a moment because I believe that we're going to have a neighborhood meeting. Yep.
4D.
Notice is hereby given that the City Council of the City of Peabody, acting as a special permit granting authority, will conduct a public hearing on Thursday evening, May 5th, 2016, at 7:30 p.m. in the Franklin Wigan Auditorium, City Hall, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass. On the application from Dennis Feld and Rita Michelle Feld, 49 Warren Street, Peabody, Mass. For a special permit to reinstate, refresh, renew, and issue a special permit to allow use of an existing foundation to construct a duplex on a lot being 10,048 square feet at 54 Endicott Street, Peabody, Mass. as filed in accordance with sections 1.5, 1.7, 6.1, and 15.7 of the Peabody zoning ordinance. Peabody City Council, Councilor Peter M. McGinn, City Council President.
Attorney Kelty.
John Kelty representing Dennis and Michelle Feld of Endicott Street in Peabody, and Councilor Mitsoulas has determined, well, we've met with them, that there are a number of folks that are curious as to how this will work and what's going to occur, and we have agreed that we would hold a neighborhood meeting on May 24th at 5 p.m. at my office, and we would ask that this matter be continued until your first meeting after May 24th. So is that the 2nd in June? Second meeting in June? June 9? Great.
All set. Attorney Kelty. Councilor Matsoulis.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make a motion to recess this until June 9th. Is that what we have? June 9th? Okay. And councilors, you're all invited to the neighborhood meeting, which is the 24th, May 24th, 5 p.m. at Jack's office on
40 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass.
40 Lowell Street. It's open to all of you, and that's it. So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor. You heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. On that invite, if you could just let the clerk know ahead of time if you're planning on attending that meeting, because if we have a quorum there, as you know, we're going to have an open meeting law issue. So we would need to advertise that meeting to make sure we are in compliance with the open meeting law. Thank you, Attorney Kelty. Item 4E is in Ward 2. I'm going to ask the Dean of the City Council, Councilor Garabedian, to please take the chair.
Okay, item E, will the clerk read the notice, please?
Notice is hereby given that the City Council of the City of Peabody, acting as a special permit granting authority, will conduct a public hearing on Thursday evening, May 5th, 2016, at 7:30 p.m. in the Franco Wigan Auditorium, City Hall, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass. On the application from James Kaludis, 11 Railroad Ave, Peabody, Mass. For a special permit to construct a multifamily use of 3 upper floors of residential addition to the existing building at 34 Railroad Ave, Peabody, Mass., with commercial use on the first floor as a restaurant, is filed in accordance with sections 4.2.1, 6.1, and 15.7 of the Peabody zoning ordinance. Peabody City Council, Councilor Peter M. McGinn, City Council President.
Thank you.
Jack's going to make his presentation.
Okay. Jack, Councilor Kelty, name and address for the record.
Thank you. My name is John Kelty. I'm an attorney. I have offices at 40 Lowell Street in Peabody, Massachusetts, and I appear this evening on behalf of James Kaludis, whose business address is 11 Railroad Avenue, Peabody, and he is the owner of property at 34 Railroad Avenue, Peabody, Mass. And we believe that we are presenting this evening a rather exciting project that will become an important part of the revitalization of our downtown in general. 34 Railroad Avenue is directly behind the Leather Workers Park up here on Lowell Street in Peabody, the place where we hold the concerts. This particular building is directly behind the concert stand. It fronts on Railroad Ave. Its rear access, its rear of the building is right on the Proctor Brook, and we have been to the Conservation Commission and gained approval from the Conservation Commission for the construction that's being considered by the City Council this evening. We're proposing the first floor space is the existing building first floor space is approximately 7,990 square feet. That would be refurbished in its entirety, and loading docks that are currently on the premises would be removed, and we would present first floor expected to be and hoped to be and planned to be restaurant space. 20% of that square footage on the first floor would be devoted to storage and circulation, in other words, elevators and the like to get up to the upper stories. There would be 3 stories above that first floor that would be apartments or condominiums. I think that more than likely they would be condominiums. They range from 1,050 to 1,100 square feet. There are 5 on each floor. There are a total of 5 condominium, 15 residential spaces. We have 19 ordinary spaces and 2 handicap spaces that are located on the site. We have, our height would be not in excess of 50 feet. We have considered, with the building inspector, with the building commissioner, we have considered utilization of a parapet, which would be allowed under zoning, that would shield any equipment that would be located on the roof from the view of our neighbors, the park, or anybody around us. We are intending to use the existing first floor space and then build above it. And I have with me this evening, our team has consisted of Eastern Land Survey, who did the plan that's presented to you this evening, which is really a site plan. We have engaged the services of Brigitte Fortin, who is Brigitte Fortin Design, Inc., and Pittman and Wardley Architects, LLC of Salem. My friend Zach Millay is here this evening, and we have some renderings of what this building would look like. We believe that the building fits beautifully into the character of that neighborhood. There is a substantial use of brick, which would replicate the brick buildings that are around us, and there's a lot of glass and cement boards. So if Zach, you would like to present those? Did you get color? You didn't in your package. Color renderings of the elevations? No. Okay, that's fine. We were fortunate enough today to have kind of a nice article in the newspaper. I think that the article reflected accurately what the intentions on the premises are, and reflects what our goal is with respect to creating an opportunity in the downtown that will, you might want to put them a little more forward.
Okay, so my name is Zach Millay. I'm an associate designer over at Bridget Fortin Design. And you can see here on the left are the 2 renderings from different perspectives of what that proposed project will be. You'll see that there's brick that's existing on the first floor, and we propose to do the second and the third floors as that same brick. And also you'll see a stair tower here will be done in a metal panel, and the light gray areas that you see around that will be proposed to be in a cement board hardy panel material. These are the existing conditions of the site that they are today, so you can see the drastic difference between basically what that new building will be bringing to that neighborhood, which is a nice new building matching the existing context of that site. So you can change that. This is a 2D line drawing of the existing, or the proposed front addition, and see at the bottom you can see what will be the restaurant space on the bottom, and then we'll have 3 floors of residential space And this material here is what would be the hardy panel cement board, and this stair tower is what would be that metal panel that you saw in the first rendering. And this is another 2D drawing of the side elevation, which would actually be the side that's facing that park that's off on the Leather District now. And you can see here on this bottom here, this would all be seating, exterior seating provided for the restaurant space. And then we have 3 floors of the residential spaces. Makes it a little easier. And this is a rear elevation that would be facing the park, as if you were looking from Lowell Ave onto Railroad Ave. And again, down at the bottom, we have seating that wraps around the first floor of the building that provides exterior seating for the restaurant on the first floor. And then we have 3 floors of residential space that do have views overlooking the park in the rear. And also what we have here on the second floor, this is a community space that can be used only privately for the residences, that they could use that as some sort of private event space or anything of their particular needs. And that's a roof deck, yeah. That would act as that. Yes, and that view is the side elevation looking from the parking lot. So this is the area where we have loading docks for the restaurant, which would be here. And then here's that deck that I was talking about previously that would be for just the private residences only. Here's that stair tower there that would be in the metal panels. And this is a plan of the first floor. So here you can see that we have drastically changed the existing building. So what we have here is this is all new restaurant space that houses, based on calculations, about 294 has an occupancy load, which is what the space was designed for, and that's what helped us establish what bathrooms, where we need the bathrooms, how many facilities we need to house those people. But you will also see that we've put seating here. That seating is not 294 people. That's 194 people approximately that can seat comfortably in that specific layout. Again, depending on whoever does move into that restaurant space, they have the flexibility to play around with that space.
I actually counted these out, and that's 104 seats.
Yeah.
And however many are at the bar, 10.
Yeah, the bar can fit between. This would be the bar right here, yeah. Yes, and this would be the kitchen. Yeah.
And then there's some common space, which is...
Exactly. In this space here, this is really more, this is the 20% of the first floor square footage that would be used for circulation space for residents going through onto their houses. And there's also storage here for some of the units that we've provided for them, as well as loading dock where they could use storage for that kitchen space. Here we have the second floor plan. This is just a very basic layout of what each unit would be. They range in square footages from 1,000 square feet to 1,200 square feet, which is the largest unit here on the end here, going from front to back of the building. This extra space here would be used as flex space, fitness center, recreational area, and we also have provided more storage on this level for the rest of the units that do need them. And they're all 2-bedroom units, yes. And this is the third floor. Again, it has the exact same layout as the second floor with all 2-bedroom units. The only difference is it doesn't have a recreational space. This is that porch that you were seeing in the previous elevations and renderings. So the patio space, yes.
So we are pleased to respond to any questions that the board may have. I think that, we will trigger an involvement within the inclusionary zoning provisions of the city of Peabody, and we will have to provide affordable units in this space. I have also had the opportunity to see some conditions that Councilor McGinn may want to place on this project, and we're happy to, they were all perfectly acceptable. They made more great sense. And we've been through the Conservation Commission. We have got an order of conditions, and we will need a site plan review through the Construction Review Committee and the Planning Board. Happy to answer any questions that council may have.
Would the council like a 2-minute recess to get a good look at the pictures? Okay, 2-minute recess.
It is. It is. Commercial space.
This is the proposed building on Railroad Ave.
That's 11 Railroad Ave. This is 34. Yep. So that's this.
Do you have any prospective interest in the restaurants yet, as of yet?
Oh, Jim hasn't really advanced it.
Not at liberty to tell us?
Well, no, he hasn't really. Jim didn't want to jump the gun, and he'd like to, know that he has his permits in hand. Oh.
What's the square footage for the restaurant? It's all one floor, right, for the restaurant?
The restaurant
Yes.
is all on one.
The pastry guy, ice cream guy.
6,083 square feet. 6,083 square feet. And then there's another 1,844, which is that common area.
Jack, does that count the seats outside, the 190?
No,
So that's additional.
they would be on a decking space, correct. That would be, yes. I counted
Inside.
yes.
So how many seats on the outside?
I don't think we've actually laid that out at all. On the outside, we didn't lay
So
it.
this here, is that the private?
me again,
No, that's the restaurant.
flooding more
So that is the
conducive than I,
Right, the private is up top.
Yeah, it's up here.
Oh, okay.
And that space down there, that's for the restaurant.
I mean, on both sides of
And that's not on the ground, that's elevated.
are in tough shape.
That's elevated?
How many total
Yeah.
units, John? Yeah, how many units?
15.
And I have a
15.
problem with the city of Peabody.
Yep, 1-5. 3 floors of 5 units.
Well, this is, this is an artistic rendering of it, but in our elevations, you can see that clearly that it's elevated. So on this is more of a realistic, so this is exact elevation.
Oh, sorry. Removing it even
But
though
it's only a few feet, you say?
Exactly. They need to get the two together.
And this is the roadway that goes?
This is the park that's going through there now, so this, what you're looking at is basically this road right here, that pathway that's going.
Oh, I see, okay. And then, because the city owns this land here before, okay.
City owns the adjacent piece, that's correct. And then is the courthouse.
Yeah. And this is the walkway they use to get to the street. So where's the dumpsters?
We show on the site plan, we show the
Dumpsters
dumpster.
would be placed in this spot.
That's correct.
That would be easy access to get in. That's not
And it's likely to be on wheels. Shows as an enclosed dumpster space on the plan that I filed with you guys.
Since you invited me, yes, I will.
Edna St. Vincent. Edna St. Vincent right here. You're shocked, aren't you? that I knew that?
Well, she was kind of an interesting lady. Yeah, it comes down Railroad Avenue. Thank you. Very much. Never come up on the side.
The ladies' room and get some. How you doing?
Good, good, very good.
That's good.
does not require any parking.
That's correct.
I understand it doesn't, but that doesn't. You have to park on the street? Because all the residents are parked here, right?
In all likelihood, certainly if they are condominiums, then yes. And it would seem to be difficult to take those spaces away during the day when people might be at work. So we would be principally utilizing public parking that is within 2 miles.
Jack, do you know, off the top of your head, on Railroad Ave, are you allowed to park only on one side of that street? It seems like nobody parks on the right, just the left.
Yeah, I think it is one side.
Jack, you all set? You all set? Okay, is there anybody in the audience in favor who would like to speak? Anybody in favor? Is there anybody in the audience opposed? Anybody opposed? Open up to the council. Council McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. Acting President. I would agree with Attorney Kelty's categorization of this as an exciting project. Since September of last year, I've met numerous times and had discussions on this proposal with the applicant, their architects, their attorney, and community development. Mr. Kaludis, he has strong Peabody ties. He's built a successful business right across the street, Kaludis Painting. I very much want this to be a successful undertaking for him. It is important that the City Council understand that Mr. Kaludis does not intend to undertake this development himself. So if this special permit's obtained, I believe it's his intent to sell the site with a permitted project. So we'll be dealing with an as-of-yet unknown developer, and a transfer would be requested at a later date. So there'll be another stop here for a special permit transfer, because as you know, that doesn't go with the property. The initial concept was for 10 units on 2 upper floors, so a little less dense and a little lighter on the parking requirement. But the issue with that configuration was that if greater than 20% of the overall space is commercial, then obtaining financing for condominium development would be very difficult. And so in the 15 residential unit, 3 upper floor configuration, that percentage is brought down to 20% or less. So that's why those percentages that they were talking about on the first floor for circulation and so forth are important, because it helps bring the overall commercial space down to that 20% number that will allow them to, for the financing to be obtained under a condominium scenario. And I believe a mix of residential uses in the downtown should include condominiums, and accordingly the 3rd floor of residential is very appealing to me for that reason. With 15 units, as Attorney Kelty mentioned, the city's inclusionary zoning ordinance would apply, and that would require 2 units to be affordable. Otherwise, the remaining units can sell as condominiums or rent as apartments at market rate. So establishing and maintaining these as market rate is consistent with the Gateway Cities Initiative to increase residential growth, expand diversity of housing stock, support economic development, and promote neighborhood stabilization in designated areas, this being one of them. With 15 residential units in the commercial use that will generate cars for staff, customers, parking is an issue, and I've heard a number of you already mention that. Under current zoning, 30 parking spots would be required for the residential use, and 0 parking spots are required for the commercial use. As you know, in BC, we have a 0 requirement for the commercial uses. 21, you said, Jack. I thought initially the plan said 22, but it's 21, 22.
We lost one through the Concom.
Okay, so we're at 21 now. Parking spots would be provided on site. There are, however, 41 underutilized on-street parking spaces on Railroad Ave. And I think they can be used to support this development. The Industrial and Community Development Committee has the matter of parking requirements in the BC to take up in the near term. As you know, that was something that was put to us by Councilor Gravel, and we will be taking that up soon. My expectation is one of the elements to be considered will be residential parking permits in municipal spaces. That's something that's being done in other municipalities to kickstart some development in their downtowns, and I hope it's something that we'll discuss here and we'll give strong consideration to going forward. So my request is that if the City Council acts favorably on this idea, that this development comply with then in effect parking requirements, which, as I said, there'll be another stop here when the special permit transfer for this development takes place. This site is adjacent to Proctor Brook and has received a comprehensive order of conditions from the Conservation Commission, as Attorney Kelty mentioned. So, as you know, flooding is clearly a concern in this area. They gave it a thorough vetting. I believe that the improvements to the site will actually help mitigate flooding in the area due to the improvements they'll be making to the site. So that order of conditions was issued at the March meeting. I think the dining deck and some of the other attributes of the building adjacent to the Leather City Common will add to the atmosphere of the Common. I don't believe that the height of the proposed development will adversely affect the Common by excessively shading the Common, or I couldn't, other than that, think of other potential adverse impacts. But I'd certainly like to hear if other councilors think otherwise. This application is for a mixed-use configuration. This is exactly what Section 5 of zoning of the ordinance suggests the city should be encouraging in the BC zoning district. It's also a recommendation of the downtown Peabody Brownfields Revitalization and Economic Development Plan completed by the city of Peabody in April of 2014. I think this is a great example of the city's investment in the area and the ongoing efforts to improve the downtown being a factor in encouraging this type of development. And again, as Attorney Kelty mentioned, I think it is an exciting proposal. I support the special permit, and also, as mentioned by Attorney Kelty, I do have a number of conditions that were reviewed in advance by the applicant and his attorney, and to which they are completely agreeable. So with that, I'd ask other councilors for comments. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President. Council Gould.
Thank you, Mr. Fill-in Chairman. Through you to my fellow colleagues and maybe through you to Attorney Kelty or Councilor McGinn, I am not familiar with the process of us approving a permit after reviewing the plans and then coming before us again. Now, is the next person that comes before us feet held to the fire that plan will have to look exactly?
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes, and that will also be true of when we go through site plan review with this. This will be the building that will have been reviewed, site plan review, and so these plans, this type and style of building will be.
Yes, please, I'm looking for some help.
Council McGinn.
Through you, Mr. President, to Councilor Gould. Yeah, I think I've heard councilors at various times on various projects voice sentiments of to the effect of bait and switch, things that could happen. There will be a transfer required under these circumstances, that would normally be processed through the building commissioner's office. We need to approve all of those, and one of the conditions that I'm including here is that the recipient of the transfer appear that night for the transfer, and that we can make very clear that all these conditions will apply. But
So, Mr. Chairman, I am thrilled that Mr. Kaludis is looking to do this for us in a area of downtown. I consider Railroad Ave just another extension of downtown, and I think it's a wonderful, I fully support it, and I wish you well, Mr. Kaludis. And please find a good builder for us that is gonna, when you do transfer, make sure he has the same vision that you have. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Gould. Council Manning Martin?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I as well am very pleased with the facade. I mean, it's a beautiful building. It matches nicely with the tannery building that's there now. You've answered the question about you're going to have 15 units, so therefore you're going to have 2 affordable units, correct? No buyout? You're not going to propose a buyout
Correct.
to that? Thank you.
Beyond the premises.
Great. And along the same lines as what Councilor Gould has touched upon, what we have in our record here is a blueprint of the square footage and the plot plan. But what we don't have in our record is what we've just seen tonight for the first time, which is the layout of the restaurant. We're just seeing that for the first time, and in particular, I noticed that the bar was a 9-seat bar with, looked like 3 high tops, probably 2 seats per high top. So you're talking 2 to 3. So you're talking anywhere from a very small bar, 15 to 18 people in it. So my concern would be, again, along what I think Councilor Gould was touching upon, is if we have a new owner, new developer, are they going to be able to change the internal presentation of that restaurant and make the bar 5 times as large? Because that is a very large restaurant, and I think a restaurant is excellent down in that area, but we have to remember too, and I think a restaurant with the smaller bar as is proposed here is perfect for that area, because we have to remember that we do have a lot of residents in the tannery down in that area. So I think this would be perfect. It's beautiful. It's something we absolutely need. It cleans up the area. It's a win-win. But my only fear is that there would be changes later that that this council here would not approve tonight. And I think that if the restaurant were to be constructed exactly as it is now, it's a win-win. But that's my only concern, is that there may be changes down the line when this is transferred, that the design of that restaurant is something quite different than what is being proposed tonight. So that's a concern that I have that maybe Councilor McGinn can speak to. And then I probably have a couple other questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor McGinn?
thank you, Mr. President. Through you to Attorney Kelty, to address that concern, would you be agreeable to an additional condition that the development be in accordance with the plans presented at the plans, renderings, and drawings presented at the special permit hearing?
And I think what I can do initially is that this set of schematics dated April 8th, that's what we just presented. So what I could say is that you should specifically, and I'll give these to the clerk for the file. We've given them also to the building inspector electronically, but they would be the schematic design, Kaludis Commercial, 34 Railroad Ave, Peabody, dated April 8th, 2016.
Would that, through you, Mr. President, to Councilor Manning Martin, would that address your concern?
Not at the moment, because I don't know what he handed you, and I don't know
What he handed
if
me,
it is,
what he handed me
is a
was,
reflection of
is
the
exactly
beautiful
what he, a smaller
colored
version.
pictures that we just saw.
Yeah, let me,
Because we don't have any of that in the record, any of this.
we can receive this now.
Because it does need to go in the record,
Yep.
because those are just beautiful pictures that we'll probably never see again unless it's put in the record. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's what I'm proposing.
So, move to receive the schematic design drawing package labeled Coludis Commercial, 34 Railroad Ave, Peabody, Mass., April 8, 2016.
So moved. All in favor? Anybody
11
opposed?
That's 11 pages, Mr. President, and the rendering, which are a smaller version, what we see on the easel there, proposed 34 Railroad Ave, front elevation, proposed 34 Railroad Ave, rear elevation. So moved.
All in favor? Any opposed? Let's vote. Council Manning?
Thank you.
And then Council Charis, then Council.
And what type of restaurant, or is that something that we have to find from the new owner? What type of restaurant were you planning?
We really don't know. It's,
Okay.
Jim has not really presented it to the public, and
Okay.
we have not marketed it whatsoever.
And then later, the entertainment license and all that would have to come back before
Sure.
the council anyway,
Yeah,
right?
you haven't issued any
Okay.
of that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Council Charis.
Thank you, Chairman. Just a little concerned in trying to do the numbers, and I know that we don't have to have no requirement for particular parking, but if we have 15 units with 30 cars, and then the seating is 190 potentially inside?
The seating capacity that Zach was referring to is how many people can you fit in that space. When I counted out the seats on the plan, we showed 9 at the bar and 100 and, what did I tell you, 104. 104 were in that layout that you have just received.
104. And
But the seating, but the capacity of a space counts, it's so many square feet per person, and once you have that, you could have people standing. So there's no intention to have 190 seats in there with people sitting.
Again, and does that include the outside seating or not?
That 104 number that I gave you does not include the exterior seating.
And through the chair, do you have an approximate what number that would be?
What? 90 outside? 90.
90 in addition. And there is no visitors parking spaces for the unit owners upstairs, is there, right?
No.
And there's 21 spaces on site, and there's 40 spaces.
Yes, I counted out 21 if you look at the plan that's in front
And
of you.
I love this plan. I love having a restaurant down there. I've been in this field for years, and I think that's what downtown and adjacent areas need. But one of my concerns is, it certainly is the parking of the residents of the tanneries. There's not going to be infringement on their parking. And also that it being right up against the park that we use for events on a Sunday, on a Saturday, when most people will be home and when that restaurant will be open, the parking for people to participate, if it's Kids' Day, if it's the concerts on Sunday, where's that parking gonna come from?
Where our parking or where
No.
the leather?
Well, we're talking the municipal parking spots, you said was 40 in that
Councilor
area.
McGinn said that,
Through
yeah.
through the chair to Mr. McGinn.
Those are the spaces that are all along from the railroad diner down to the private parking, which is the
Right.
tanneries parking.
That's correct.
Which most of the visitors to the park for Kids' Day, concerts, or other events utilize to attend that. And if those spots are going to be utilized by tenants and patrons of the restaurant, it really leaves no spaces for the citizens to use that park. And that's a concern. And again, I'm pro-business, I certainly am, but I don't want to have a headache of providing a space for the city to use, businesses using those space, residents using those space, and a war going on for parking spots. The other concern if I have is, would there be outside music on that?
We haven't applied for an entertainment license, so that would certainly be part of that. If we were to have outside music, that would have to be applied for.
And what time that would be, considering you have the Tanners right there across the way. And again, not infringing in the use of our common area of the park during times of, music being played while maybe a concert's being on. So those are my concerns, is that those being such tight spaces and for such a large restaurant with that many cars being parked, I don't know how you're gonna fit everything in those 40 plus 121 spots to be able to have the city utilize that park still and not be having an issue. Thank you.
Councilman McGinn. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to Councilor Charis. Just a couple of other points. You raised Crown and Shield, and they have a very large lot actually directly across the street from this on Railroad Ave that is, I think we have a representative here tonight from Railroad Ave, and while I'm not speaking for them, my observations of that lot is that it is seldom used at anywhere near capacity, so I don't think we're creating any kind of a issue for the tannery. That's all fenced off and I think controllable in terms of that existing residential use. There is another smaller lot directly adjacent to this one that's set aside now. It's full of construction material right now for the MassWorks project, but it's for City Hall parking, which is closed on Sunday, of course. So under that scenario that you described, there would be a few additional spots there as well that could be used for those that want to enjoy the common. But I make no bones about it. I mean, it is going to be, there's going to be more cars. There's absolutely no question about that. But as I look at the area, and as I look at the parking that's available in that vicinity, if we can't make it work there, I'm not sure where we can make it work. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Councilor Gravel?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dean Chairman. First of all, I used to have an office there on 49, and so I got very familiar with that area. I mean, it's a pit. There were literally cars that were left there all the time, and trash that was left there all the time, and there were people coming in and selling fish out of their truck, and fruit, probably without licenses. It just, and of course, you'd always get to see the occasional exchange of brown bags and all the things that go with that. And so I think, anything that brings life, cleanliness, an attractive venue is nothing but a plus. And I hear the concerns about parking, and we're going to be talking about this in industrial community development. We almost have to create a parking problem to solve it. Because right now, we don't have a parking problem. We have nobody using those spaces. And honestly, for the occasional use that people have for the commons, which is very occasional, go by there any day of the week, 6, 7 weeks in the summer, maybe one time, once in the fall. There's no parking problem there. And by the way, on concert days, children's days, we got to depend on the neighbors, St. John's, the AOH, all around to sacrifice a little bit of their parking to make it successful. And by the way, if the events are good, much like in Salem and in Beverly and in Danvers, people will walk from spaces that are further out to get to the venue. I've listened to it as a member of PDAT for now 3 years, 4 years. I've heard 4 different developers, all with some who have vested interest in the city and some who don't. Some who want to have more vested interest in the city. All say the same thing. You basically you got to let them do their business. We have to be open enough to understand that, whether it's 18 seats or 25 seats or 50 seats, right now they're in a sale process. They got to be able to sell a restaurant. And the only way they're going to sell at is if it can make money. And if that means that it has to have a different blend than what you're seeing in a picture today, I think, frankly, what we should be approving is, do we agree with the concept of having that building of that size with that many parking spaces, having mixed use with a restaurant on the bottom and housing on the top and condominiums? If we do, then we've kind of exercised what our purview is. I don't want to get into interior design, how you're going to lay out the floor, what kind of food you're going to serve. Frankly, you couldn't tell me because you haven't sold it yet. And I really think it's, the business owner is the one that's at risk when they do it. So I'm not so concerned with, whether it's 15 seats, 20 seats, or 40 seats in the bar area. I really don't care. I think at the time that the liquor license is issued, those restrictions will be placed. But right now, do you have a liquor license?
No.
So right now, you don't even have a liquor license.
No.
So I don't want to be worrying and putting undue conditions that prohibit the ability to market this thing, because we've done that enough times. We know what happens. You can't attract the buyers. If you can't attract the buyers, then you can't go forward with the project. And once again, we'll be looking at this 2 years from now saying, whatever happened to that great plan for that ugly building that was sitting there? So I think we've got to be, and I know many of us have come from a background where we've been burned. And, we've seen some ugly stuff go up and we've seen some bad stuff go up. But, we got to find good developers who want to do the right thing by the city, create the right type of project. This is exactly in the sweet spot of what's been talked about for the last 4 years for revitalization. And I think I'm only making this as a prelude to the argument that we're going to try to make on the parking issue in general is we cannot create more space downtown. We're landlocked. We are what we are. And the only thing we can do is learn to deal with it in the best way possible to keep people investing in our downtown so that we can grow it and so we can bring it back. So I 100% support this project. I wish you the best of luck in terms of selling it. I know it's a tough road out there, particularly in Peabody, particularly in that location, because, people have visions. All they do is they think about flood, 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 flood. And, I wish you the best of luck. I think it's a great concept, and I think it fits right into what we've been looking for. So thank you for bringing it to us.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Walsh.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a couple of questions through you, Mr. President, to Jack. Some of the concerns mentioned were this plan being sold to the developer as the order of conditions say here. Is that something that you would put in the deed, or is it something separate?
No, the order of conditions gets recorded. I mean, the special permit gets recorded, and there's always a requirement that gets recorded, and that would be on the record, and then it causes you, if we sell it to any other entity. Right now, this would be issued to James Kalutis individually.
Correct.
So if we were to put it in anyone else's name, we'd have to bring that back before you. And I think that to Councilor McGinn's, where he's pointed is that anybody buying this has got to come back and say whether they understand what they're building. Are they building this?
So it would not be in the, I understand that Mr.
No, it's
Kalutis
not
owns
in the
the
deed.
property now.
It's not in the deed, but it is a matter of record at the registry of deeds.
It is?
Yep.
Okay, okay. My second question is this: do you have a potential buyer?
No.
None?
No.
So it hasn't been
As
marketed
I
at all? It's just...
said a bit earlier, or I tried to say a bit earlier, Jim has wanted to have his permits in hand, have a project that's viable, and not jump the gun.
Okay. How exactly do you then go about marketing it once, let's say the plan is approved tonight, and you have all your permits, everything's in order?
Well, we still need to go to site plan review, and which is the planning board and construction review committee.
Right, okay, so let's play this all out. You have everything you need, it's time to market it. How do you market it, and how long do you expect it will take until you would find a buyer? Any estimate?
We're hopeful. I mean, we would give it to, in all likelihood, a commercial broker, and we would put it on the market as an approved commercial development, commercial residential mixed use development. And how long it will take would probably be a question of, my very personal opinion, some of the materials we're using here, which make it so exciting and so attractive, might be a little bit tougher a sell. So I think we have to attract someone who has confidence in the city of Peabody and who has the wherewithal to build that project. And so when we find that person, that's when it will sell.
Okay, so the answer really is you have no idea how long it will
Really
take.
don't.
And
You know,
that's not a criticism.
if market rates stay as they are now and the residential market stays as hot as it is now, I think this is a very viable project and would probably go rapidly.
No, I'm just trying to get a sense, Jack, of how long. And then, would you know, or would any of the team know, once you have a sale consummated, how long a construction project like this would take place? What are we looking at that picture to come to reality? How long?
Yeah, probably 9 to 12 months.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Sinowat.
Thank you, Mr. President. So, Councilor Gravel had a good point, and we talk about the concept, and I think some of my issues here are with, I like the concept, I don't like the process, and I don't like what I'm hearing, and I don't like getting dropped this on me, and I gotta absorb it all in 10 minutes, looking to see and make a judgment whether that type of restaurant is appropriate for that area, whether the quality of life of the Tannery 2 and all the seniors that live there are gonna be affected, whether they're gonna be apartments. Yes, they're going to be apartments. No, we're going to make condos. I personally think that the housing is a great part of that project. I'd like to see condominiums. I'd like to see people vested in our downtown. I don't want to see low-income apartments above that property, next to our park, next to senior housing. I don't want to see it. I want to see people vested in our community who are going to go in there and buy those condominiums. And what I hear is, well, maybe there'll be condominiums. Maybe they won't. Maybe there'll be a restaurant. Maybe they won't. And it's a tough one. And I get it. The building is a dump. The whole area needs to be redone. Question, are you applying for variances after this?
No.
No variances all on this
No.
project? Nothing, none
No.
whatsoever?
None.
Okay. Has anybody met with Crown and Shield to discuss this project?
We had meetings with them tonight, and I represent some of the folks at Crown and Shield, and they've been aware of this project.
What are their concerns?
The gentleman that's here this evening was concerned about whether we intended to use their private parking.
Okay. That's a legitimate concern.
Sure it
What
is.
was your response?
And no. and they're all well posted that it is private parking, and we said that we would supply any kind of signage on our property that said that you can't park across there.
And the other concern I have is the flipping part. I'm not a big fan of it. I understand Mr. Kalutis is going to make some money on the project. I would have liked to seen him invest. He's right across the street, and he would have invested.
The real reason for that is that Jim Kalutis runs a number of enterprises, but a development of this size, magnitude, and scope is really not in his wheelhouse as we sit here tonight.
I get it.
So Jim does what he does best, and he's a painting contractor, and he's painting, you know, and he brokers some of those out, and that's the reason that we would like to put this whole project in place and then find the right person who can build this and do it right.
So somebody wants to come in and buy this whole project. What was the thought process? Instead of putting a 6,000 or 7,000 square foot restaurant, was there any thought about putting in a smaller restaurant and other storefronts?
Not necessarily, because we needed some of the, pardon?
I can answer that.
Yep.
I actually met with community development, and that was one of the ideas that they pitched to me.
You want to state your name and address for the record, please?
James Kalutis, 11 Railroad Ave, Peabody, Mass. So I first came to the community development because I was looking to expand the area of my business. And this was originally going to be where I expanded my business. But after the research that we did, we found out that it wasn't big enough for us. So we're squeezed in across the way, and we're doing our best to be a good neighbor to Crown and Shield. And after looking at it, it wasn't going to work. So we went to them, and they said, well, this would be a great place for a brewery. And that's some of the first drawings that we had there was a brewery. And you know, people are asking about the bar and the restaurant. We don't know what could go in there, and we'll work with the town from that perspective, but we can't answer those questions. But, you know, it was the town, the city of Peabody that came to me and said, hey, that'd be great for a brewery, or that'd be great for a restaurant. And we just went along with that just to support that.
And I had heard the same comment about a brewery was interested in going in there. Is that true or not true?
No, there's nobody. Nobody's come forward for anything. This is all just people thinking about what would be a good fit for the downtown and, you know, trying to get some excitement going about people coming here to be a part of it.
Is there, when you talk about the apartments upstairs, apartments, condominiums, is there a way to assure that there'll be condominiums and for sale, or is that not part of the, that's what you're hoping for, but after the fact it could
I'm not
turn-
looking to put that restriction on.
Okay. You know, I think...
Our
Go ahead.
interest is condominiums, and we expect that the party that comes along buys will also want to do condominiums. And that would also allow you to condominiumize that first floor so that whoever comes in and invests in that restaurant could own the space versus rent the space. But condominiums are always, it's always a question as to whether, you know, the banking industry is in the mood to finance condominiums or apartments. But our preference right tonight and all along has been condominiums. And we feel, from a marketing standpoint, the condominiums are better. And we would agree with you that to have people owning and being vested in the community is the better idea.
You know, I gotta say, I'm gonna support it, but I have reservations. And I'm just concerned about the size of that restaurant, and if somebody comes in with a different plan, you know, we could have a large sports bar there, and maybe it's not a bad thing. It may be a great thing, but I'm just concerned about next door with the senior housing. There's a lot of seniors there, and that would be my concern. If it was a beautiful, you know, what was the size of the restaurant? 6,000 square foot, and how many people, well, occupancy-wise, was it 100?
No, we showed 104 seats on that plan that we filed, but the occupancy based on the total square footage of 6,083 is closer to 200, 194. That's how many people can physically fit in the place.
Well, we had it at Tipico, I think that was 500 square feet, and we had 50 people occupancy. So, but that's a concern, and I think we're going to have to be vigilant on that in terms of, and I don't even know if we have a say once it's approved. It isn't allowed use in the downtown, so.
But they've got to get a liquor license.
I'm going to take a flyer on it, I'm going to support it, but I do have reservations. Make it condos and control that restaurant in terms of not letting it get crazy over there, and make it a restaurant, a real nice restaurant, and not a drinking hole. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor McGinn?
Yeah, through you to Councilor Sinowitz, and I think you alluded to this towards the tail end of your comments there. If they were building just a restaurant with no residential, there would be no special permit required. It would be allowed by right, so they could put a restaurant there tomorrow with no parking requirement, and we wouldn't be sitting here. So by virtue of the fact that the applicant is very much cooperating with community development and trying to take it in the direction that I think would be beneficial to the area and to the city in general, I am appreciative of that, of the approach that they're taking. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other counselors? Councilor Manning?
Yeah, just a quick comment. A restaurant only would not fly down there. That's why it's not on the table. Thank you. I said strictly a restaurant down there with no housing above isn't on the table because it wouldn't go anywhere. Thank you.
Councilor McGinn?
Perhaps. So are there any other councils? No. Move to close the public hearing.
Councilor Matsoulis?
Yeah, I didn't get an opportunity to speak, and I just wanted to say I'm in favor of this 100%. And, yeah, you know, listening to this, everybody talk, you know, everyone had their points, their reasons, and they all had their reasons for feeling and expressing the way they feel. Myself, I could remember as a kid, I was a young kid, 12 years old. I'm a lot older than most of you in here, and I remember when Walnut Street was alive with restaurants from one end to the other, and Peabody Square was the same. And I was a shoeshine boy, in and out of all these restaurants and bars. It was an exciting place to be. I see Peabody now changing. I see all the construction going on in the downtown. I see Brothers is looking to come back into Peabody. And there's also rumors of other restaurants I'm hearing too. That sounds very good. And to me, it sounds almost like another Salem. Salem is a destination place to go. People go there for their, you know, restaurants. They go out for the night. And the one thing that growing up in the city of Peabody, there was never any parking anywhere. And every one of these restaurants existed. If you went down to Walnut Street when I was a kid, there were 10 restaurants. Dunkin' Donuts was a restaurant it was a breakfast place with apartments on the bottom of it, your Dunkin' Donuts in Peabody Square. And if you went down to Walnut Street, there were 3 or 4 restaurants on the right side, a couple on the left. You had Ted's on where the church is, the Greek church. In the next corner, there was the old KK. And then there was a Yankee Club. And then if you went down around the corner and you came up Holly Street, Renee's Bar was on the corner. There was a diner on the corner. There were more restaurants. Peabody was alive. And I'm hoping, this is why I'm going to support this project, because I'm hoping that everything that's going on right now is going to bring life back to Peabody, because that's what we need. And if we can bring life back to Peabody, it's going to be a more enjoyable place for all of us. So, I'm going to support this 100%, and I'm behind all you councilors. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other counselors? Counselor McGinn?
Move to close the public hearing.
You heard the motion? Roll call. Never mind roll call. On the motion, all in favor, any opposed? Counselor McGinn?
Come on, Dean.
We may need a recess there to address the brief laughing period. Thank you, Mr. Acting President. Move to approve the application from James Kalutis, 11 Railroad Ave in New, Peabody, Mass. for a special permit to construct a multifamily use of 3 upper floors of residential addition to the existing building at 34 Railroad Avenue, Peabody, Mass. with commercial use on the first floor as a restaurant, as filed in accordance with sections 4.2.1, 5.5, 4.2.1, 5, 6.1, and 15.7 of the Peabody zoning ordinance, with the following conditions. There shall be number one, there shall be a maximum of 15 dwelling units in the upper 3 floors and a single structure on the lot. There shall be no dwelling units on the first level of the structure, which shall be utilized for restaurant use. The building shall be in accordance with the plans presented at the special permit hearing, titled Schematic Design, Coludis Commercial, 34 Railroad Ave, Peabody, Mass., dated April 8th, 2016, 11 pages, and the renderings presented, titled Proposed 34 Railroad Ave Front Elevation and Proposed 34 Railroad Ave Rear Elevation. Number 2 is accept as required by the provisions of the inclusionary zoning requirement of the zoning ordinance of the City of Peabody. The developer shall make reasonable commercial effort to maintain all remaining dwelling units as market rate condominiums or apartments. Number 3, residential parking shall be as per the submitted site development permit plan. However, should zoning change at a time prior to the transfer of the special permit where such change allows for residential parking permits in municipal parking spaces, parking shall comply with and in effect parking requirements. Number 4, all exterior renovations and additions to the structure and any sign for the commercial use in the structure shall comply with the zoning ordinance of the City of Peabody and should be carried out in a manner consistent with the City of Peabody's downtown design standards for the Main Street sub-district. No sign for the commercial use shall be placed on the structure where visible from the adjacent park. Number 5, no apparatus including but not limited to antennas or satellite receiving dishes shall be placed on any roof or any facade of the structure where visible from the adjacent streets or parks. Number 6, no window air conditioners or similar apparatus shall be installed in the windows of the structure. Number 7, in case of snow accumulation of event of greater than 2 inches, no snow storage is permitted on site and all snow must be removed to an acceptable location. Number 8, all trash and recycling materials shall be fully contained within a site impervious fence such that materials are adequately screened from adjacent streets and parks. Number 9, trash and recycling materials shall be removed by a private trash removal service at a frequency adequate to prevent excessive accumulations of such material from residential and commercial uses, and no municipal trash pickup shall be provided. For the avoidance of doubt, trash collection shall be in accordance with the ordinances of the City of Peabody, and no trash or refuse or recycling collection shall occur between the hours of 7 p.m. and 7 a.m. of any day of the week. Number 10, no pickup or delivery of supplies associated with the commercial use in the structure and utilizing trucks shall occur between the hours of 6 p.m. and 7 a.m. of any day of the week, and trucks carrying out such pickup or delivery activity shall utilize dedicated on-site loading area directly adjacent to the easterly side of the structure. Number 11, landscaping shall be established and maintained in accordance with the submitted site development permit plan. Number 12, in accordance with the special permit application, construction hours of operation shall be from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Saturday. Number 13, food establishment plan review application must be submitted to the Peabody Health Department prior to the start of construction. Number 14, fire warning and protection system shall be reviewed and approved by the Fire Prevention Office Bureau as per CMR 788th edition. Number 15, the project shall be subject to site plan review and approved by the Construction Review Committee and Planning Board in accordance with the provision of Section 12 and Section 5 of the City of Peabody zoning ordinance. Number 16, at the time of special permit transfer request, the party requesting receipt of special permit shall attend the City Council meeting where such transfer is considered to address any questions the City Council may have at that time. Number 17, alleged violations of special permit conditions may result in a show cause hearing at the City Council. So moved.
Okay, you heard the motion. Let's try it one more time. Roll call.
Councilors Mitsoulas.
Yes.
Sinowitz.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
Manning Martin.
Yes.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Gravel.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Garabedian.
Yes.
Motion carries 10-0, 1 absent.
Thank you, councilors.
Thank you very much.
Reports of committees. Thank you. The Committee of the Whole met on April 21st, 2016. The committee members present were Councilors Sinowitz, Walsh, Charis, Turco, Gravel, Gould, and McGinn. The committee met to review the 2015 annual report submitted by Aggregate Industries. Represented Aggregate Industries were Mr. Ron Robinson, Operations Manager, Aggregate Industries, Ms. Lisa Young, Director of Engineering, and Ms. Jennifer Levine, Engineering Compliance Manager. The committee reviewed the report with Aggregate Industries. Councilor Sinowitz cited some neighborhood concerns with regard to activities at the quarry in 2015. The matter was held in committee pending a site visit within 2 weeks with committee members and the Department of Health and the Conservation Commission. And before I finish that report of progress, Councilor Sinowitz, do you have anything to add?
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, just quickly, the site visit is May 12th at 5:30. If any of the councilors have never been inside the quarry, it's quite a take, so you're more than welcome to come. And we will have the Concom and Board of Health there to look at all the issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Sinowitz. So that portion is a report of progress. There was one motion made by Councilor Sinowitz, moved that the site visit be established within 2 weeks at Aggregate Industries, 55 Russell Street, with the committee members, the Health Department, and the Conservation Commission. Make that in the form of a motion. Councilor Sinowitz.
So moved.
Councilors, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. The next item on the agenda, that meeting did not happen. That will be rescheduled, so that takes us to motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor Sinowitz.
Thank you, Mr. President. That was quick. First, I'd request that the Peabody Municipal Light Plant trim a tree at 2 Roosevelt Ave. It's growing up into the electric light lines. So moved.
You heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? Vote. Sinowitz.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request the Department of Public Works install a berm at the corner of 681 Lowell Street and Roosevelt Ave. So moved.
You heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Sinowitz.
And request that the Department of Public Works repair the sidewalks at 3 Cyrus Circle. So moved.
You heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Sinowitz.
Thank you, Mr. President. So, I want to talk about something that's bothering me. And 2013, this city council passed a home rule petition to have 10 additional liquor licenses in our city. 5 of them at the time went to the North Shore Mall, which we all supported. And they were concerned about Linfield Marketplace, and rightly so. So we did what we were supposed to do. We helped them out. So what happened was there was 5 additional liquor licenses slated for the downtown. It was great. And, you know, maybe I'm getting a little snow on the top and I'm getting a little older, but I don't remember one suggestion or one person say that those were going to be site-specific. After we approved it, it went to the State House, and somewhere after we approved it, different parameters were put in. So we got a site-specific at 2 Washington Street. We got site-specific at the hotel that's not happening. We got site-specific at 98 Main. Don't know what that is. I get an idea where it is. We got site-specific across from McDonald's, I think at the project in Ward 2 with Councilor McGinn, which is not happening as far as I know. And last but not least, we got a site-specific on a parking lot on Foster Street, which I don't even know if that's legal. So over time, I started to see things happening that were hurting businesses because of this. Number one, the first event that happened was Maria Torres, who's coming back here tonight for a catering, should be back for a catering license. She was located next to Brody's. So she wanted to move her business up onto Main Street near the North Shore Bank, and she wanted to expand, and she wanted an alcohol license. She was doing pretty well. And she was told, no, you can't have it. It's site-specific. We don't give you that license. So she proceeded to, couldn't find another location, she closed down and left. The next incident that happened was Galanero and Marco's Italian restaurant were going for a liquor license. So they went before the board, and the liquor board awarded the license to Galanero. So I said, well, why didn't we give Galanero a downtown license, give Marco's that license, and everybody's happy? You can't, it's site-specific. So now Marco sits up on Route 1 without a liquor license. That's not helping businesses. And the pièce de résistance is we're all celebrating Brothers is coming back. I'm thrilled, it's awesome. Do you know Brothers is looking for an alcohol license? Site-specific, you can't get it. So he's out right now trying to negotiate to buy a license from somebody. So I called and we had a conversation, and I said, Teddy, something's wrong here. Why should you go out and spend 40, 50, whatever it is to get that license when we have 5 licenses in the downtown that haven't been touched? What's going on? Who? Now, so I thought maybe I'm wrong. I don't remember site-specific. So I went and I Googled it because I didn't have the time to call Tim and get the minutes of the meeting. So on December 2nd, we had a meeting, and here were some quotes from the meeting, City Council meeting. The mom and pop restaurant that would like to open up downtown is often priced out of the market. Mayor Betancourt said, referring to the high-priced liquor licenses often sell for between license holders. It could easily be over $100,000.
Councilor Sinowitz, just point of order. Is there a motion order or a resolution coming on this?
Of course there is.
Okay, thank you. I
course there is.
just wanted to make sure we're heading somewhere.
No,
Thank you.
I'm just not pontificating because I like to hear myself speak. So, thank you, Mr. President.
Councilor.
Thank you. So it goes on, and Councilor Gravel said in comparison, we brought up Maki Sushi, and he said that's great, they got their liquor license, they're doing fabulous. So the one part that I did see, Mayor Betancourt said these licenses would also be specific to a location once they were issued. So if we gave a license to Maki Sushi, stays at that location, he wants to transfer it, has to go back to the city. And so the bottom line is, what are we doing? What are we doing? We're costing businesses money now. So I'd like to make a motion to put this into legal affairs, to have it looked at, to go back to the State House, to remove the restriction for site-specific. One other comment. I went online to the State House and I read the Home Rule petition. So if you want a liquor license in the city of Peabody, you pay $2,500. And that's what the deal is on these site-specific ones. Somebody change the parameters and put in a $5,000 fee that goes into the community development fund. So a small business downtown pays the $2,500, then he's got to pay another $5,000 on top of it. I don't find that helping business. And if you want to look at it as how somebody who has a license who paid for it regularly, it has value. The one that he has on Main Street has to go back. So if a guy paid $2,500 out on Route 1, he can sell that for $100,000. The guy who just paid $25 plus the $5 can't sell it. It goes back to the city. So I would like at that meeting to have community development come and explain the rationale behind it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. But I find that when Brothers is coming back, and Brothers is, you know, because it's Brothers, we're thrilled. Believe me, I'm thrilled. It's going to bring a lot of life back to the downtown. But let's not hurt them. And for somebody to select a parking lot, and like I said, I would remember that. A parking lot, no one came to me and said, we want to do an RFP for a parking lot on Foster Street. Never came to me, this council, not that I remember. We'd have to approve it anyway. So that's the thing, and I'm sorry to go on and be long-winded, but it bothers me. And now we got a restaurant that wants to possibly open over here on Railroad Ave. There's none available, and we got 5 sitting up here on Main Street. And I did do my research. I went through and looked at a lot of home rule petitions for liquor license, and many communities make them in an area. Main Street, Washington, Foster, Walnut, Central. And that's what we should have done. And I don't want to bash anybody. Let's solve it. Let's fix the problem and move forward and help the businesses. Thank you.
So the motion is to refer the home rule petition liquor licenses to legal affairs. Councilors, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Council Sinowitz?
All set. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Council Sinowitz. Council Matsoulis? Correct. No motions. Thank you, Council Matsoulis. Council Walsh?
Thank you, Mr. President. I just have one motion, and it's to refer to the Committee on Municipal Safety the issue of purchasing pole-mounted electronic radar speed signs. And on that motion, I'd use the example of we have an electronic radar speed limit sign on Lake Street. I think it's the only one we have in the city, but it's somewhat effective in that as you're coming off of Route 1 and coming down the hill towards McCarthy School, if you find yourself over the speed limit, you slow down and go to the proper speed that you're supposed to. And there are other areas in the city where I think we could benefit from permanently affixed electronic radar signs in any of our major thoroughfares. You look at Margin Street, Gardner Street, Gooddale Street, Lowell, Linfield, Lynn, any of those. There are certain areas where I think this would be helpful. There is a cost to these, and that's why I think we should have a discussion and maybe look at, over the course of the next several years, purchasing a few each year and addressing some of the habitually, traffic areas that are over, never mind. Anyway, where the areas are where we have high incidence of offenders would be the first place I'd like to place them. But I think it's a discussion we should have and move forward. And I think they're much more effective than the trailer that has to be moved around. So moved.
Councilors, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Thank you, Councilor Walsh. Back to you, Council Matsoulis.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have one motion here. It's from the crossing guard that is on Wallace and Tremont Street, and he's requested to install a no turn on red sign at the corner of Wallace and Tremont, and also Northern and Tremont. So moved, Mr. Chairman.
So are we referring that to municipal safety?
Yeah, refer it to municipal safety.
Refer to municipal safety. You heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Thank you, Council Matsoulis. Councilor Manning Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let's see. Many of you probably read the last couple days in the Salem News. There were a couple of excellent articles on the opioid crisis and some decreases that have happened in certain cities and towns. And specifically, there were some interesting numbers. Peabody went down 33% from last year. Methuen went down 16% of opioid or heroin-related deaths. Haverhill went down 55%, and Newburyport went down 80%. While some other cities and towns had increases, these were significant decreases in those 4 cities and towns. And I just want to kind of give a shout out to what I think what Peabody's doing very well, clearly with a 33% decrease in this area. A lot of the credit, I think, goes to the Healthy Peabody Collaborative and the coordination and partnership with the police chief, Chief Griffin, and the schools. And I think, do we have them coming next week for the drug committee, the council's drug committee?
Yes.
Excellent. Because what I'd like to, that's perfect. What I'd like to see if we could take a look at with them, with the Healthy Peabody Collaborative, because I was on researching their website and Facebook page, and they've been data-driven since their inception back in 2008, and which I think led to their success all these years later in focusing on all the right things. And I'd like to talk to them at that meeting about data and potentially reaching out to these 4 cities and towns in particular and see what they do and find out what common things each of these successful cities and towns are doing so that we can either survey, maybe Peabody could take the lead in surveying and finding out that data so that we could find the commonalities and share them with the rest of the communities in an effort to fight this crisis that's going on, because there is significant increases in these towns, and I'm very interested in burrowing down to find out exactly what is being offered. Another, a data-driven approach, and I do think that the Healthy Peabody Collaborative is ideal for taking that on. So I'm glad they're coming next week, and I just thought I'd throw that out to the councilors for their thoughts in preparation for that meeting. So not a motion, but just a real kudos to Sandy Drover and Chief Griffin and the school department for their efforts in this regard, because they're clearly leaders in this and have been for quite some time. It was formulated under Mayor Mike Bonfanti in 2008, and they received grant monies from Underage Enforcement Grant, a Federal Drug-Free Communities Grant, Highway Safety Mini Grant, and a Summer Food Service Program. And kudos to Mayor Mike Bonfanti way back in 2008 for putting this all together in an effort to address a crisis that he saw some time ago that, continues, but with all the concerted effort on this, I think we should all just keep it up, and Peabody needs to support the effort and put forward what we're doing right to other communities. So I just wanted to put out some food for thought for my colleagues in preparation for that meeting. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Manning Martin. Councilor Charis.
Nothing tonight.
Thank you, Councilor Charis. Councilor Turco.
Mr. President, I have one motion, and that is to refer to Public Services, the need for the crosswalks at the South and the Brown schools to be repainted. The children do still have roughly 7 weeks to go, and it's come, I've gotten several phone calls about the painting. I think it's an issue, and I also think with the nice weather hopefully coming, there are several other crosswalks on Lynn Street that cross over to the South Peabody Trail that desperately need to be painted. Lynn and County, as well as Browns Pond and Lynn Street, excuse me. So I would like to get a time frame from Public Services as to when those crosswalks will be painted.
Councilors, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Turco.
Mr. President, one other thing. On Wednesday, April 27th, I received a phone call at 9:30 at night from Olive Birkinshaw on Fairview Ave. Immediately thought the worst, they're getting a call at that hour at night, but Olive just wanted me to let you all know, as well as Mayor Betancourt, that Engine 5 was on Fairview Ave saving 6 ducklings that had fallen into a storm drain. And since Olive's phone call, I've gotten several others. So Olive wanted me to be sure to thank Engine 5 and to make you all aware of how happy she was with the city of Peabody.
Thank you, Councilor Turco.
That's all.
Thank you. Councilor Gravel.
I can't even compete with the duckling story.
Dig down deep.
I'll go deep, though. How about I move on to suspension of the rules, item 7B, transfer funds and refer it to a finance subcommittee.
You heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Gravel.
And then I'll follow up with a move on the suspension of rules 7C to the finance committee.
You heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Gravel.
And a comment that I just want to say, Barry, I agree with you on the site-specific licensing. I was always under the hope that it was going to be on the street. I did want to agree with Council Walsh, although I wanted to let him know there is another set of radar signs there right down in Peabody Square. And given the speed of the traffic now through Peabody Square, you might be able to reallocate those. And I'm working on the ducklings. I'm still working on it. I would like to remind all councilors you will be receiving, if you haven't already received, an invitation to the George Peabody Legacy Awards, which will be held on May 19th. We're honoring 5 individuals who I think are very deserving, who've worked hard in the city. So if you could make it, your attendance would be greatly appreciated. And last but not least, is the only thing I have to compete against the duckling story is, many of you know that we're involved in Santa's Magic. And Good Morning America tomorrow is going to be at Quincy Market. And they are going to be purchasing 2,000 greeting cards that were produced by a company that was funded by Shark Tank. And they have requested Santa's Magic to utilize those cards because they're specific to our veterans. And the Higgins Middle School has stepped up. Those cards have to be personally made out and mailed to veterans who are on active duty. And so the Higgins Middle School has stepped up to take on that challenge of helping us fill out 2,000 and mail 2,000 cards. So I wanted to give a shout out to the administration and the teachers at the Higgins Middle School for taking on the challenge and thank them.
Thank you, Councilor Gravel, and I would add that I think Santa may be on par with the ducklings, so that's well done. Councilor Garabedian.
Yeah, where do you go with ducklings and the cards and now Department of Public Works to fix 19 Worcester Road, the curbs, second motion on this address in the last 6 months, so hopefully they can get there.
Councilors, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? Is vote. Councilor Garabedian.
Just a thing that Council Walsh had tried to do, I think it was maybe the holidays, and was to help Haven for Hunger, help feed them on a certain night, and I think there was a storm or something. Something happened that we couldn't get together, but we're trying to reorganize that, and we had a couple of dates, but I just figured I would ask the councils if to throw a bunch of dates at you, I think would be crazy. It's just June 7th, it's a Tuesday night. If the councilors wanted to, we could all get together, or whoever could, and donate our time to Haven for Hunger. It's a couple hours. It's like 4:30 to like 6:30, and it would be well appreciated. And so I'm just throwing that date out. That's the date that we can do it. So
thank you, Councilor.
Thank you.
Councilor Gould.
Thank you. I'd just like to play off of Councilor Gravel's the Legacy Award. Dave, why don't we be specific about who the 5 honorees are, please?
So this year, we typically honor 6. We're honoring 5 this year. First person is Jan Anderson, who is a lifelong teacher here in the city of Peabody at the high school, also was a department head. We're also honoring Janice Harkins, who was spent 40 years in the school system and headed up the cafeteria workers. We're honoring Jerry Hallinan, who had almost 40 years of service at the high school and is deeply involved in all the clubs and the societies. We're honoring Dave McGeaney, who served 20 years on the Peabody School Committee. And we're honoring Warren Waugh from Lion Waugh Motors, who's donated hundreds of thousands of dollars very quietly in this community to improve the educational facilities as well as the process within the city. So those are our 5 honorees this year. We expect to have a great turnout, and it's really appreciated. Again, if you could make the time to come. 6 o'clock, Thursday night, the 19th. Thanks.
Tickets can be bought through URI if they need to.
www.pbdedfoundation.org.
Thank
right
you.
online.
No motions, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Gould. Councilor Sinowitz.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm sorry, I had one more motion, and it's actually, I'd like to make a co-motion with you. I was approached by a couple of veterans that up by North Shore Shopping Center, there's a Revolutionary War monument, and some of them feel that it's out of the way, and you very rarely see it. I guess it's pushed back, and when you start to go down the path. So some of them, they must have mentioned it to the mayor, and they asked me, would it be possible to move it to 2 Washington Street, which is the historic significance of that building. So would it be possible, I'd like to take a motion to put it, we have a Human Services Committee meeting. Could we get that on the agenda for that? And I'll see if we can get some of the veterans down here to discuss it. And
The veterans agent?
Yeah.
I think he oversees that monument.
okay, we'll
the
get,
veterans
yeah,
agent.
make a motion to him, and we'll get some of the principals involved.
So next Thursday?
Yes.
Your schedule.
Yeah. Thank you. So moved.
Councilors, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Manning Martin.
Thank you. Along those same lines, I'm glad you brought that up, Council Sinowitz. The Women's Monument on the front of the City Hall, I'm sure a lot of you, it's been brought to your attention too, that it doesn't belong it's way over to the right, away from the other monuments, and I think it needs to be brought over with the others. The sacrifice and the service that the women made should be recognized in the same area. It's really off to the beaten path, and whenever we have veteran services, it's really cut out of the whole thing, and I don't think that was ever anyone's intention, but it certainly is noticeable. So I think that you bring up a great point, and I think maybe we can refer that as well, if you don't mind, and we can address both of those things so that everybody gets the recognition that was intended. Thank you.
Councilors, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Item 8A, Councilor Manning Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Motion to receive and refer to, motion to receive with thanks. Thank you very much.
You heard the motion.
Chief Griffin,
All in
thank
favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Item 8B, Councilor Walsh. You heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Item 8C, Councilor Sinowitz.
Move to receive and approve all papers being in order, Mr.
You
President.
heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Item 8D, Councilor Turco.
Motion to receive and set up a schedule a show cause hearing for Elite Motorcars, 93 Lynn Street.
Councilors, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote.
Motion to receive item 8E
8E, thank you. Go ahead, Councilor Turco.
Motion to receive item 8E, Farhad and Fareed Inc., 139 Linfield Street, special permit application, and set up a public hearing.
Councilors, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Item 8F, Councilor Gravel.
Motion to receive item 8F and set up yes.
That's next week, the 12th, right?
Yes.
Councilors, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote.
Mr. Chairman, if I may?
Yes,
I have
Councilor
to
Gould.
give kudos to Councilor Gravel. What a fabulous job on that application, the special permit application. You can see how Salem Country Club is, everything is, all the details to it, so thank you.
That's fine, Councilor Gould. Now, since you brought that up, when I flipped through that, I noticed there were a bunch of missing signatures. Are they going to address that prior to the hearing next week? Councilor Gravel, if I could ask you to, could you flip through that application? It appeared to me there might be some missing signatures when I flipped through it, and I just don't want to get to the hearing and then determine that we have incomplete information if we need to give them a request to complete it.
It looks like it's missing the department signatures in particular.
So with those, under the process that we have, is it the applicant's responsibility to obtain those, or do we circulate that internally to obtain those signatures?
The intent was that the applicant would come prepared requesting a special permit based on the requirements and the department needs had to be addressed, and that they would be able to speak on how they were going to mitigate those particular issues, whether it be financial mitigation or whether it be resource mitigation.
So it's the applicant's responsibility to obtain those signatures. So do we need to send them a communication notifying them that they've submitted incomplete information, or?
I would think that they could come to the hearing, and then certainly we can request that information, and then we probably couldn't act on it until it went to the departments anyway, but we want to get them in the process so that they actually are, providing us with insight into how they expect to impact the city, and, how they expect that to be paid for.
So we're all set at this point from your perspective?
Yes.
Thank you, Councilor Gravel. Item 8G.
Motion to receive and refer to legal affairs.
Councilors, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Item 8H.
Motion to receive and set up a public hearing, Mr. Chairman.
Councilors, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Item 8I. Councilor Turco.
Motion to receive and set up a public hearing.
Councilors, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Item 8J. Councilor Manning Martin.
HJ?
Yeah,
Oh, 8.
I had spoken to Councilor Sassler, and he indicated that you might be addressing this. 8J.
Believe I spoke with him about 8E, the transfer of the detour.
Okay.
Motion, I'll skip to that. Motion to receive and schedule a public hearing for June 9th. I did speak with him on that.
Thank you, Councilor. Which item was that?
8E, detour cars, transfer of a motor 2 vehicle license.
9E.
Yes, 9E.
Great. Thank you.
June 9th was the date he wished to do that.
June 9th. Councilors, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. So back to 8J. It's a,
Receive and approve, excuse me.
councilors, you heard the motion to receive and approve. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Item 8K, Councilor Gravel.
Move to receive, and I don't think, because they're a municipality, I don't believe, based on the way we wrote the ordinance, we don't require a special hearing, we just have to receive and approve it.
So the motion is to receive and approve. Councilors, you heard the motion to receive and approve item 8K. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Item 9A, Councilor Gravel. Councilor Gravel, on just a point of information on item 9A, and Councilor Sinowitz, Councilor Sinowitz, I have a question. I had asked for this one to be delayed. This is item 9A. This was on a previous agenda, and they had come in at one point and asked to expand their junk dealer's license to sell outside. And I'm bringing this to, I'm putting the question to you because I know you're near that on a regular basis. And from what I see going by there, it's a bunch of stuff on folding tables with blue tops over it under all weather conditions. It's just not something that I think was intended when that was granted. So my request on this, if other councilors would be agreeable, is to rescind that portion of their junk dealer's license, for the outdoor sale. That's 9A, Precision Estate, right? Okay, I'm being advised by the clerk that the proper approach might be to bring them in to have that. So could you?
Thank you, Mr. President. Second one. So I'd like to make a motion to have Precision Estate Sales come before the City Council on the renewal of their junk dealer's license. And I was at that location for a number of years. And when they moved in, let me take a step back. When we approved the permit for, on Pulaski Street, the antique dealer, one of my questions was, are you going to be storing or putting furniture outside? And he said, absolutely not. And the reason I asked that question is because of what happened on Howley Street with the junk that was put out front into the parking lot. And during rain, it was left out there. Sometimes a tarp was thrown over it. So it really made it look like an eyesore. So I think you're right on in having him come back here to discuss that. And so I agree, and so moved on the motion.
Thank you, and Councilor Matsoulis, I know you had to step away there for a moment. This is an issue in your ward, so I just want you to be aware of it. On item 9A, rather than renewing this evening, we're asking them to come in to discuss the element of their permit that allows them to sell materials outside. Okay? Councilors, you heard Councilor Sinowitz's motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. All right, so thank you. Councilor Gravel, the balance of 9A, if you would.
Yes, sir. Junk dealer license renewals for 2016, Martoni and James, 215 Newbury Street, number 206, Charlene Appliance Center, 15 Spring Street, Long Jewelers, 35 Cross Street, Al's Restaurant Equipment, 119 Foster Street, and the Brotherhood of the Divine Holy Ghost, Inc., 20 Holly Street. Move to receive, approve, subject to all papers being in order. So.
Councilors, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Item 9B, Councilor Gould.
Renewal for 2016 entertainment license, VFW Fidelity Post, 1011 20 Stevens Streets, and 31 Linfield Corp. Wadhurst, 31 Linfield Street, all papers being in order.
Councilors, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Item 9C, Councilor Garabedian.
Renewal taxi limousine driver's license, John Machado, license number 96, Christopher Crane, license number 97.
Councilors, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Item 9D, Councilor Sinowitz.
I'll take that, Council Sins.
Councilor Turco, my bad.
Motion to receive and approve all papers being in order, block party, 4 and 5 West Diane Road, 7 and 8 West Diane Road, 1 and 2 Wassel Chuck Drive, July 4th, 2016. Disregard that 3 to 7 Columbus Road. That might have been a typo. Oh, that's a different one. Okay. Okay.
Can you go ahead and just take the rest of it? 3 to 7 Columbus Road.
Motion to approve, or motion to receive and approve all papers being in order, block party at 3 to 7 Columbus Road, with no date. I don't see a date.
So as you heard the motion, all in favor, any opposed, it's a vote.
Okay. Motion to receive item 9E, Class 2 motor vehicle license transfer.
Yeah, we're all set with 9E.
Okay, you're all set.
Item 9F, Councilor Gould. Oh, sorry. Councilor Gravel.
Utility contractor license, Nardone Inc., 45 Outlook Road, Wakefield, Mass. Move to receive and approve subject to all papers being in order.
Heard the motion, all in favor, any opposed, it's a vote. Item 9G, Councilor Manning Martin. Nine G. Anybody have 9G in front of them? Councilor Garabedian.
Yeah, use of the Wigan Auditorium, Dance with Dina, 59 Main Street, for May 11, 2016.
Councilors, all papers being in order. Councilors, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Item 10A, Councilor Turco.
Motion to receive, approve, and adopt item 10A as advertised.
Councilors, you heard the motion. This is an ordinance change. Roll call.
Councilors Mitsoulas. Yes. Sinowitz. Walsh.
Yes.
Manning Martin.
Yes.
Charist. Turco.
Yes.
Gravel.
Yes.
Garabedian.
Yes.
Gould. McGinn.
Yes.
Motion carries 10 to nothing.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Councilors, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? The vote. We are adjourned.